Hello and welcome to Books of Blood. My name is John, and today I have got a review of the modern Prometheus, and this is by Jayson Robert Ducharme. So the first thing you're going to think is when you see this and you think the modern Prometheus, which is what Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, that was the subtitle of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, you're going to think, oh yeah, this is a remake of Frankenstein, and that could not be farther from the truth. There are elements of Frankenstein in this book, of course, but it is not the main influence behind Jayson Ducharme's writing of this particular book. And this is his first novel. He's written novellas, Ceremony of Ashes, Alessa's Melody, Come Forth and Thaw, and After Me, The Great Flood, but this is his first full-length novel. Alright, so let's get into what the book is about. It is about this fellow by the name of Peter Murphy, and there is significance to that name, and I'll get to that in a moment. But anyways, about this fellow named Peter Murphy, and Peter wakes up one day at the very beginning of the book, and he is trapped in this cabin with this individual, Jacob. And the thing about it is that for all intents and purposes, Peter should be dead. However, Peter is not dead, and he finds his new existence being that of being part Peter, part a woman of 38, and part an African-American male, all of whom have died and have now been resurrected in one body by this fellow Jacob Abbott. All right? So Peter escapes from Jacob. Jacob is going to kill him. He thinks he's a failed experiment, but Peter escapes, you know, and sets out on basically his own journey to find answers, to reconnect with his wife and his surviving child. When I say wife and surviving child, the reason Peter is in the situation that he is in, and this is not a spoiler, is because one night Peter is driving the car with his son Jack. Jack is two years old, in the car with him, and there is a horrible accident. The engine block comes through and it crushes Peter's chest, kills Peter, and then crushes Jack's skull. Just pulverizes it and kills Jack instantly. All right, and then he, of course, ends up on Jacob Abbott's operating table, so to speak. All right, so now Peter is trying to find answers. You know, he wants to reconnect with his wife. You know, but the bad part, the thing about that is, though, is Peter doesn't look like Peter anymore. You know, and when he does finally reconnect with her, it is not with good results. Actually very heartbreaking. I mean, because there's even part in it where, you know, she sees him, but she can't believe that it is him because he does not look like Peter anymore. He's pretty damn hideous looking, and she won't believe it. Even when she, and this is one of my favorite parts of the book, even when he is telling her things about their life, about their marriage, that only she and he would know, she still cannot accept this. She thinks you're an imposter. And the same thing happens pretty much with when he tries to reunite with his brother. His brother is now an alcoholic. He can't accept his brother's death. He can't accept his nephew's death, excuse me. And he is now, for all intents and purposes, an alcoholic. He's living day to day, just drinking to do away with the memory. All right. So all of that is happening. And not only that, but unbeknownst to Peter, he starts getting these little weird things going on, like memory loss, red splotches on his skin, just all different things. And unbeknownst to him, his body is beginning to deteriorate. He is slowly deteriorating. His mind is slowly deteriorating. You got to remember, for all intents and purposes, he is dead. This is dead tissue we're talking about, which I thought was very interesting. of Jayson Ducharme, because that's something that's not really touched on in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's just like, okay, he reanimated this thing, this being, this monster from all these sewn together parts of corpses. But it's like, okay, they're already deteriorating. Shouldn't they all continue to deteriorate? So I found that to be very interesting in this book. All right. So now we're going to get on to the part of, okay, now I'm going to get to the end. So now Peter is kind of on a mission. He is on a mission to be reunited with his wife and with his daughter, and not the way you would hope that it would be, where they would all be one big happy family of 3 individual people. That is kind of not the way that Peter envisions this reunion, and it leads to some very deadly consequences. There's also some very deadly consequences. I don't want to give away too much when he confronts the young man who was also involved in the traffic accident that killed him and his infant son. All right, so now I am going to get into my feelings about the book, and I'm going to confess something, and that is, when I first saw the subtitle for this book, and it's not in the book itself. You see it nowhere in the book at all. But if you go to Amazon, it says The Modern Prometheus, an existential body horror novel. Now, I know what body horror is. I watch enough David Cronenberg movies to know what body horror is. All right? And that is one thing about this book, is that the influence for this, yes, there's a little bit of Frankenstein, but most of the influence for this book comes from David Cronenberg's The Fly. And it also comes from, believe it or not, RoboCop. Remember I said there was a significance to the whole thing about Peter Murphy? I spotted this right away because I said, Peter Murphy, that sounds like a combination of Peter Weller, who was the actor who played Alex Murphy in the movie RoboCop, which is also about a man who is so badly injured that he has to be put basically back together in the body of this cybernetic robotic being, and he is where does Alex Murphy and where does this being RoboCop, where does one end and the other begin? Is Alex Murphy, does he still exist? Or is it all RoboCop now? So that's kind of the thing about it. But when I saw that, I hate to admit this because I hate sounding stupid, and I have a phobia about being perceived as stupid, but I had to ask, what exactly does existential mean? All right? And the best way to put this is the difference between, and I know I feel like I'm totally, I don't know, nerd-splaining this or something, but we all exist. But do we all live? It's like, okay, if you get up every day and you brush your teeth, take a shower, go to work, come back home, watch a little TV, go to bed, get up and do it all over again, are you existing? Or are you just existing, or are you living? Because for all intents and purposes, all you're doing is existing. You're not living. That is one thing that I've kind of had to struggle with myself. I like a routine, but I don't like just existing. You know, that's why I try to do things to just have a little bit of fun, to do things I enjoy, like go to movies. A couple of weeks ago, or about 2 weeks ago, I actually went whale watching, and I had a wonderful time. So I am trying to not only exist, I am trying to live. All right. So that is where you get into this whole thing with Peter Murphy, and is he Peter Murphy anymore? Because for all intents and purposes, Peter Murphy is dead. if he went in as Peter Murphy and tried to say, hey, I want to buy a car. Okay, we just need to see this, this, and this. Wait a minute, you're dead. We can't sell you this car. You don't exist. You know, so it's the thing is like, does Peter Murphy, he's not alive, and he doesn't even exist either. And that is the crisis that Peter Murphy fights with throughout this book. All right. One thing it brings to mind for me is the scene in The Fly where Seth Brundle, Jeff Goldblum's character, he is in pretty much close to the final stages of his transformation from Seth Brundle to Brundle Fly, and he is telling Gina Davis, Veronica, he's telling her that he was an insect that believed or dreamed that he was a man, and now that insect is waking up to the reality of what he actually is. So yeah, that is why I said a lot of the influence for this book came from Cronenberg's The Fly. Also the whole thing about how Peter wants to reunite the three of them, Margie and Aaron. Margie is his wife, Aaron is his daughter. He wants to reunite the three of them. And if you remember in Cronenberg's The Fly, and if you haven't seen The Fly, I'm sorry, but I'm spoiling things for you, but you've had since 1986 to watch this movie. All right? So that's on you, not me. But he basically wants Veronica and her unborn child to go through the matter transmitter, or the teleporter, or whatever, transporter, the same way that he did, and together, so they can all be one body, or three people in one body. All right. So that is pretty much what the modern Prometheus, and that is pretty much what my take on the modern Prometheus is all about. Now, the question about it is did I like this book? Oh my gosh, yes, I loved this book. I told Jayson Ducharme, I said, you know, I think the best subtitle for this should be Ducharme's Masterpiece, because personally, I think all of his novellas, which have been great, have just been batting practice, because he knocked this one out of the damn park, okay? It is absolutely fantastic. That is how I feel about this book. That is, you know, I've been trying to be subdued by this, trying to talk a little bit more intelligently about this, but I'm sorry, I'm just on a rant right now, and it's not a bad rant, it's a good rant. This book was fantastic. 5 stars all the way across the board. All right, I'm going to hold it up one more time. The Modern Prometheus. And I'll tell you another thing about this. You see this fly? You see it right here? The artwork on this thing is so good. The other night I had to book at work, and I was looking at something else, and I glanced over, and we get bugs in the office all the time. I kept trying to swat that damn fly off the freaking book because I thought it was real. You know? I mean, that's how good the artwork is on that thing, because I don't think that's a photo. I think it's a rendition, this artwork, a piece of art right there. Anyway, that is my review of The Modern Prometheus. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry I rattled on for so long, but I had to get a lot off my chest. Take care and stay scared. Bye-bye.